young and we didn't want to be exposed. Even though it was cold, we were never wearing proper clothes. Always trying to be cool, trying to be those bad guys, smoking cigarettes behind the school. Always trying to be cool, trying to be those bad guys, you know. I still think about what we had when we were younger. We were never running out of time. As long as we had each other, everything was black and white. Driving in a car, never knowing how far we go. When we were younger, when we were younger, I remember a girl. I would sneak into her parents' house. I could stay for hours, and we looked into each other's eyes. Hey, I thought I was Romeo, I was looking for my Juliet. And as soon as I left, I told my friends. Those days made me who I am. When we were younger, we were never running out of time. As long as we had each other, everything was black and white. Driving in a car, never knowing how far we go. When we were younger, oh, when we were younger. When we were younger, we were never running out of time. As long as we had each other, oh, everything was black and white. When we were younger.
Well, g'day everyone. We're back. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on here. Let me just dump these headphones down so I don't hear them. So how are we all? Like I said, I've had weddings for the last couple of weeks, so I haven't been able to come on live. Now, I'm just doing 1080p today because I'm going through the yellow box. I'm going to see if it still cuts out. So I'm still trying things to see if I can isolate that issue that we had where the video is flicking. So hopefully we're not going to have any. So good to see you here. Let me also get this ready so I know that's ready to go, which it is. Now we're in pre-show. Let me just bring this down so we all know that it's just pre-show. I'm just going to give it a few minutes to see if everyone sees that I'm live. If you can share it too, guys, I'd love you to share it. Just give it a like, just so that we can, other people will see that we're live. Now I'm going to open up the Squire. I'm drinking this at the moment. Oh, James Squire, and it's called 150 Lashes Pale Ale. This is a local brew. I love it. Let me just grab that off. Throw that in the bin. Ooh. So cheers, everyone. Here we go. You ready for this? Juice of the gods. I'm back in my type A personality shirt here. I love it, honestly. Look, there's not heaps of stories, but I've got a few things that I can share with you today. One particularly about the new lens that's coming up, so we'll talk about that once we get started. And there's just some other Sony news that I'm going to share, and we'll leave it open to some Q&A. But let's, first of all, see who is here. So we've got Alien Drone Services is saying g'day. Altrix here as well. How are you, Altric? I know there's all time zone differences now too. I think in the US you've just gone forward, have you, an hour? Or back? I can never tell. We change daylight savings again in another couple of weeks, so then this might all change around as well. I'm not sure. Rocco saying greetings from Southwest Florida. Barry's saying good morning as well here. Pope's saying bonjour. How are you, buddy? Heath is saying hello from the city that never sleeps. So obviously New York. George said, greetings from New Jersey. Long time no see. Glad you're back. Hope the last few weeks were very profitable. Yeah, but that's sort of it now for me. Like I said, weddings for me just haven't really taken off much. I notice the Jaded Filmmakers here. G'day, Phil. How are you going? I'd be interested to see how you're going at the moment. I think it's probably not going to really recover for me with weddings and stuff until next year, but we'll just have to see how it goes. But at least I've had a couple of weddings. But now we're going into the cooler months, so it peters off for me here in Melbourne. So we'll just have to see how it goes. The Jaded Filmmakers here, like I said, g'day, buddy. Check out his channel too. He does some great videos. Heath said David has a clock display now. How iconic is that? Because you're saying I'm going to be late, Heath. If I'm going to be late, I probably won't show it. I love it. Jess said, I missed a couple here. Hang on, let me come back. JB Strobus is here as well. G'day, buddy. How you going? I've been watching a couple of your shoots on Instagram that you've been posting. Matt said, fun fact, every time David shoots a wedding, he acquires a new gimbal. Congrats on the new gimbals, David. I haven't got a new one this time, Matt. I'm selling them all. I've actually sold 2. I've sold 2 Firetech ones, but I've got heaps still to go. I keep wishing I had time to put the list up, but, you know, I've got some Moser gimbals that I've got to sell and a whole stack of other stuff. I've got so much stuff I'm going to sell. But I'll have to put a list up soon. I've just been putting things up occasionally on Facebook, actually. But I haven't got any new gimbals at this stage, no. Jess said, hello from Denmark. JB Stroby said, cheers. George said, did you bring enough brew for the rest of us? Yeah, sure, pop around. Altric said, just picked up some Coronas. Woohoo! Mark said, well, you're going to open one up, Altric? Have you got some open there? Mark said, hello, everyone from Austin, Texas. John said, hello, David. Hope all is well. Yep, it's terrific here. Kerry's actually out gardening at the moment. I'm sitting in here and she's out there gardening. John said, g'day from New York City, slipping a nice Cabernet. Oh, nice. Alien Drones said, spring forward. Brian said, g'day. Matthew said, hi, David, as well. John said, daylight savings time just went into effect in the US last weekend. Congress may make daylight savings year-round. I wish they'd do that here too, because I hate it when daylight savings stops, because I like the light at night, but I know everyone's different, but I do like it at night time. Rick said, hey, Dave, it's nice here in Brooklyn, New York. That's fantastic. Yeah, so the weddings went really well for me. Really enjoyed them, which was unusual for me because not that I didn't enjoy them. I always enjoy weddings, but the last 2 weddings I didn't do video, which was, you know, in a way it was so relaxing not have to worry about the wedding aspect of things. So that was really good. So I'm just seeing here what Phil actually said. See, Phil said he's been quite busy, so that's good for Phil. Just said, thanks, David. Well, I've actually been quite busy here in Sydney driving to a wedding now, so I'm glad to you read the comments out. I just say I can't see the bottom bit. I can't see them. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Like I said, I've had plenty of quotes, but all the weddings for me were cancelled and everything else and postponed, and I think brides here in Melbourne. Sydney were a bit better because Phil comes from Sydney. Sydney were a bit better. They weren't locked down as much as we were here in Melbourne. So I think that brides here were still a little bit unsure about what was going to happen. I think we were the longest lockdown city in the world. Well, I don't think we were. So, you know, I suppose from that aspect, I don't blame brides for being a little bit anxious and nervous. But we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm sure it'll pick up again. And Juicy also said hi. Yeah, so the weddings went really well. Like I was saying, I actually did them without the video side to things. So Kerry particularly likes it when we do the weddings without video because she stresses a little bit with the when we do weddings with the video because, like I said, we do everything on our own, so we don't have anyone like helping us. It's just usually the two of us, or sometimes I'll hire someone else extra. If it's a very expensive wedding, I'll hire another person to help. But in this case, we just did the photography, and it was just so sort of good, you know, so laid back because we didn't have to worry about all the audio aspect and things like that. I have just purchased a Zoom F3, so I've got that, and I'll talk about that when I get it. It's on back order for I don't know how long, but that's going to make life a little bit easier for me in weddings because I don't have to do worry so much about levels because that comes with. I'm just trying to think what's the term again. I've gone blank. 32-bit float. It comes with 32-bit float. So what that means is you really don't have to worry about levels as much because you can drop them down. So if you're doing a wedding, for instance, and then someone is very, very loud or something like that, like the mic is a bit close or whatever, you're able to adjust that later on and even increase the levels as well. It does give you amazing ability. Think of it like a RAW format. So it's like a RAW format with cameras. The difference between RAW and JPEGs. For instance, if you were shooting with or recording audio with your normal recorders, your 24-bit, it's like you're using JPEG. If you use 32-bit float, it's like you've used RAW. And you know how much you can actually expand the highlights and shadows in RAW? Well, that's the same thing with 32-bit float for audio. So I'll let you know how that goes later on. But basically, you just set these and just forget it. I mean, basically, you just let it go. So, you know, that's what's happening with that. So I'm looking forward to getting that. I believe it's on back order, so it's probably going to be sometime around May. So anyway, we'll wait and see. I'm selling some other stuff that I've got, which will pay for it. So, you know, it's not going to be an issue. I'll sell some of my other recorders there as well. Juicy's saying, hi, David. Long Rider is also saying, he's talking to someone else. Yerman is saying, hi, David, as well. All right, so let's get started anyway in the news because John said move to the States and you'll get plenty of weddings, laugh out loud. I know, that'd be great, wouldn't it, John? It's pretty hard to get the green cards to move over there, though, I think. Alien Drone Services also said 32-bit float gives you more editing latitude. Yes, it certainly does. That's why I'm very, very interested in it. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. All right, so let's go through. Let me just clear this up and we'll go to the latest news. Let me go here, take that off, and we'll bring this up. Because I thought we'll talk first about the new lens that's coming out. Well, it's meant to be released next week, I think, on the 20th. Let me just clear this, and then we'll come out and have a look. Let me just quit that out the way. All right, so let me switch over to this. And auto. Okay, so this is what they're saying is the latest. Oh, I've got to quit that, actually. Go off, David. This here is saying that there's a new leaked image of the 16-35 f4. Now, I have the 16-35 f4. Actually, I'll grab it. So this is the 16-35. Don't laugh about the scratches on this. This is a typical thing if with Sony lenses, they just scratch. The lens works perfectly. The build quality actually is very, very good. It's just that they do tend to mark. The lens is perfect, and I actually really like this lens. Because it's rock solid. It also has the optical steady shot on it. Let me see if I can get that up for you. You can see down the bottom there that it has optical steady shot. So this means it's great for using it where you haven't got stabilization. And that's something like I often use it with this. Oh, by the way, this I've got to send this into Sony. It's broken. I went to turn it on. Nothing. It's completely dead. This is the A6400. So I'm going to have to send it into Pro Sony support. Hopefully it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg. But yeah, it just died. So it's not under warranty either. So I'm going to have to pay for that to get fixed. But if you're using something like this, if you have a lens that's optically stabilized, you can get some really good results. So that's terrific. Now look, normally I use this, which is the 10 to 18. Like if I'm going to use a wide angle lens, I'll use this on it though. And this also has the optical steady shot as well. That's one reason why I love this lens. But I do use the 16 to 35 a lot if I want the full frame look on my, A7 or A9 or the A6400, I can put this on. If you're interested in what this is a attachment I bought somewhere off eBay. These enable me to do manual focus when I put them on the gimbal. They're terrific. They just slide on, and you sort of heat them up with a hairdryer, and then when they sort of get put on and they cool down, they lock on really, really quite hard. But I love it because the cogs in it make it great for when you're doing like your manual focus and stuff like that on gimbals and things like that. But I love that lens. So it's interesting that they've upgraded it, and I'm sort of glad they did because it's probably going to be much, much lighter. This is quite heavy even for an f4 version. But the other thing too is there's no controls on this at all. So it looks like, let me just put that down there. It looks like if you've going to look at this lens, you're obviously going to get the de-aperture, the click ring, which you can see through there. And it also looks like you're going to have, it's going to be telephoto. So this other one that I've got here, you have to manually turn it like all your other Sony lenses to get it to focus. To make it zoom. This is like the 18 to 105. It's going to have the telephoto zoom. That's fantastic because you can get really nice zooms if you want to zoom in or zoom out using the telephoto button there as well. And you can also do it through the remote app as well if you're going to do it that way. So that's terrific. So it's got the declickable aperture. It's got the telephoto automatic, your telephoto zoom on it, your power zoom, I should say. It's a G-Master lens, and it's also got the AF, MF button down the bottom, and also got programmable buttons as well. So this looks like it would be a really, really good lens. It's a 72mm filter thread by the look that's on the front there. I think that's terrific because all the filters that I've got are 72mm. So that's great as well. So I can use all the ones that I've got there as well for putting variable filters on. This also will be really quite light. They're saying down here that that's the code number, which is SELP 1635G. It's a power zoom, and the price is around £1,299. And it just says, here are the first images of the new 16 to 35 f4 FEPZ lens. The PZ stands for the power zoom. So that's, like I said, the 18 to 105, which I used to love. I ended up selling it because I just wasn't using them enough. But I love that lens on the A6400, and the power zoom is very, very nice to have. They're saying it will be announced on March the 22nd. And they're just some images down here sort of showing how it is. It looks like it's going to be way, way lighter. Is this 60? What size filter thread's on this? Oh, that's 72 as well. Yeah, so it's going to be the same as this, which is nice. Like I said, then I can use all the same filters for everything that I've got. But I would think that this is going to be much lighter than what that other one is. But, I'm pretty excited about this, to be honest. I don't ever really use the wide lenses at, 2.8. So for me, and remember, I'm talking about just me here, for me with a wide angle lens, I don't need f2.8. I'm often going to be shooting a wide angle lens at, f5.6. Yes, if you're in really dark environments, it's nice sometimes to have that. But look, I'll just pump the ISO up. And nowadays with the A7S III and the A9 and all the other cameras that are out there, the A1, etc., and the A7 IV, the ISO you can really push up there without having an issue at all. So I think I'd be interested in this lens. Eventually, perhaps I'm going to wait until I see it and see the reviews and stuff, but it might be one that, I'll sell this version and get that version because I really do like the look of this, particularly if I wanted to stick this on a gimbal. So let me know what you think about that, but I think that's terrific. And I'm just happy that Sony are producing more and more lenses and they're upgrading the lenses. And I can guarantee the image quality on this will be probably spectacular. And like I said, I'm happy with the F4 version, and I think this one's going to be way better. Okay, so let's go to the next one. You can put it in the chat too, because I'm going to come back to the chat at the end, guys. So if you wanted to chat down there. Now, I wanted to look at this too, because I saw on Sony Alpha Rumors that Ted Forbes, he's talked about his 3 essential Sony Prime lenses. And it's interesting because I'd love to know, you can bring it up in the chat as well. The price was $1,299, I think. Let me just check again. Someone just asked what the price was. The price was going to be, they're saying, £1,299. So that's what the price was going to be. That's Benjamin asked that. Jason's here as well. Looks like a great lens. Good day, Jason. Good to see you on here, buddy. So if you look at this... Ted Forbes has added his 3 favourite lenses. Oh, by the way, too, if you haven't followed Jason, follow Jason. He's got some great videos here as well. Just let me bring that up, just so I can show you here in case if you haven't subscribed to Jason. Jason Morris has a really good YouTube channel as well. So give him a like and subscribe to him too. I always watch Jason's stuff. So down here, he's saying that he likes the 24GM. Now, that's one I agree with, and I'll talk about these in a minute, what I use. And he's also said the Sony 14mm f1.8 and the Sony FE35 1.8. So looking at those... lenses, he obviously likes to shoot very, very wide all the time. So that's what he's put as his favourite prime lenses that he will use nearly all the time. It's interesting because the 14 actually is a really great lens. That's, G Master, that's a terrific lens as well. I'm hoping that Sony bring out a 12mm or something. Now, I'd probably like to go a little bit wider than that, but... 14mm is a great lens. The 35 1.4GM is beautiful. That's a stunning lens as well. And the 24, that probably is one of my favourite lenses. I'll leave the links for this down below, so you will be able to go and check his review out. It'll be interesting to see. I haven't even checked it out yet. I just wanted to know what he used when I saw that coming up, and I thought that I'd discuss it with you because I'd like to know what your favourite lenses are as well. So leave them down below. But I'll show you what mine are. So... this thing, the Sony 24GM is my favourite lens that I probably have for the wider aspect. This will stay nearly on my camera, well, for most of the day. It'll stay on one camera. Again, it's got that little attachment that I can put on to give you the focus, the manual focus that I can use as well. It just makes it easier to do that when I'm putting it on a gimbal. But I love this lens. I just think it's superb. It's so sharp. It's not funny. It's also incredibly fast at autofocus. It locks on. It's terrific. And also the distortion is very, very well controlled. So I love that. And I will always usually prefer primes. Kerry, for instance, though, is the opposite. Kerry will like to use the zoom lenses. So she uses this most of the time, which is the Tamron 28 to 75. She loves that. And also sometimes I'll put the 70 to 200 f4 on there. But Kerry's a little bit different. She likes zoom lenses. So that's my favourite wide-angle lens. If I had another lens that was wider, I would only use it occasionally. That's why it's not such a big deal for me. I could just, if I needed to, put the 16 to 35 on, and things like that. Let me just put that down away. Yeah, so I can use the 16 to 35 if I could use it. I'd like actually to have, like say, a wide-angle lens like a 12 that I can put on occasionally as well. I just noticed Long Rider gave me a donation. Let me just bring that up. Oh, look. Thanks so much, Long Rider. Really appreciate that, buddy. Thanks so much. So the 24 is my favourite wide angle. If I had something like the 12 or the 14, I would use that if I needed to go wider, but I'll usually just try and back up enough that I can still use this. Now, the other lenses that I adore, I'll then go to this, which is the Batis. I've had this since it was released, God knows how many years ago, but I love this lens. And look, it's basically the same as the 16 to, as the 85 1.8 Sony lens. I think there's just some little differences, but this also has stabilization. That's another thing that I adore about this. It doesn't say it on the lens, but it does. It has optical stabilization. So this is really handy if you really want to make a difference with having smooth shots. See, the thing is too, don't forget, Sony does have stabilization in the camera, but it does work even better if you have stabilization in the lens as well. And they work in combination sort of together. So that's a great thing with the Batis. It does have stabilization, and that's one difference between this and the Sony 85 1.8. The Sony 85 1.8 though is also incredibly good, but I love this lens. So what I'll usually do on the day is I usually switch between this, the Batis, or you could, like I'd say, you could have the Sony 85 1.8. And then the next one I'll go up to is this. Anytime I can, I will put this on. Now, basically, I will often shoot just the 24 on this. I absolutely adore, this is probably my favourite lens that I've ever used. It is stunning, the 135 f1.8. I just absolutely adore it. You can see there it's the FE85 1.8. So the way that I'll mostly shoot is 24 will stay on one camera. My second camera, I'll have this on it. And then I'll go through the day using that. There are some images, like I do a typical image where the bride is sort of on the bed or sitting down, and I'll do a headshot. That's where I'll go to the Batis, because the interesting thing is that you just can't work with the 135 too much indoors. It's just too long a lens. You have to step back too far. So that's when I'll go to this lens. But if I can, I will always put this on, because there's just nothing like this lens. I just absolutely adore it. So my favourite three are the 24mm, which I use for most of the wide-angle shots. I used to be a 35mm photographer, but I've sort of changed the way I am now. I like the 24. Then I'll go up to the Batis. If I'm in a really tight space, I will use the 55. I still love the 55 f1.8. That is fantastic as well. I'll just get that to show you the size. Oh, wrong lens. So this is the 55. You can see it's, you know, it's tiny. This is really sharp. There is a little bit of chromatic aberration with this lens, but it's nothing that the, you know, Capture One can't fix. But again, I've got that attachment on there so I can use this to do manual zooming. I adore this lens, particularly on a gimbal, because it's so light. It's terrific. But again, I will only use that if I can't use the 85. So yeah, this is the one that Kerry loves. So Kerry will go through the zooms. Like I said, she'll use the 70-200. This is the f4 version. Or she'll use the Tamron 28-75. Let me put that down. So I do sort of tend to like to use, you know, like the prime lenses. It's mostly what I'll use, and I'll just use my feet to sort of move back and forwards. Particularly, it may not work for you though if you don't shoot like me. Remember, I don't crop much at all. I try to get the shot exactly as I want it in the camera. I may do a fraction of a crop sometimes, but you know, I'll just do it very, very minimal cropping. So for me, the way that I shoot, and that's why I love the A7S III so much for photography, because I don't crop in, so I use it as it is. So I'll move backwards and forwards and get the focal length that I need. And I love that. And there's advantages to doing that too, is that the fact that if you use something like a prime lens and you don't crop, well then the depth of field and everything stays exactly as you want it to be. I love that, and the framing is exactly as I see it. So that's the way I shoot. So I love primes, whereas Kerry loves that ability to be able to zoom in and out. So we just shoot differently, like all of us do. We all shoot different. But the prime lenses, look, some of the new GM Masters like the 70-200 2, etc., the 16-35 G Master and stuff like that are incredibly sharp. But I still think that there's something about the prime lenses, about the look of them, and also the sharpness that you get in them. I mean, the Batis is sharp, but this, the 135 GM, is nuts how sharp this is. This is incredible. And the fall off that you get with this is just beautiful. And the linear motor focus motor's in there, you know, I mean, it's just so good to use. I just adore it. It's fantastic. So they're the lenses that I like to use. So the 24, the 85 and the 135. So let me know in the chat what you use, and also let me know in the comments too, because I'd be really curious to know what you guys use. I really would. All right, so let's keep going down. So we'll have a look here. I just wanted to show this because I thought, wow, that's beautiful. If you have the A7 IV, this case is gorgeous. I love these retro little things that you can put on there like that. I think that's stunning. You can buy it on eBay, but I just saw it and I thought, wow, I want to share it with you guys because it's beautiful. I love that. I can't do that usually on the cameras that I have because I tend to use, let me just switch back over. I tend to use these cages and I'll leave them on permanently. I love this cage. This was from, where was it? I don't think it says, actually. Does it say? No, I've done a review of it anyway on my channel. I love it. Small Rig also makes some terrific cages, but I just like the way this one is so fitting around the actual camera. I mean, you know, if you look at the hand grip, the way that goes around there, it's superb. You can also take off bits as well. Like you can have this as a half cage. You can take the top part off there. And it protects the camera all the time, you know, and I love the way that it just works, and I think it's just beautiful. And I keep that on permanently. So I would love something like that one that I just showed you, but I tend to keep them in cages, so, you know, it doesn't really matter. But you can get different colours as well. Like you said, you can get the black, blue, leather as well. I'm not sponsored by them. I just wanted to show it to you. If you like that sort of look, it's certainly, I like it. I mean, I think it looks beautiful. So that's just that one. This one is a bit freaky. This photographer was looking for his viewfinder and he said it was strangely blurry, and then he realised that a fairly large spider had made its home inside and that your eye had just a fraction of an inch away from a 8-legged creature. And you can see it in the viewfinder up there. How on earth did that get in? And I think if we come down, we'll see some other images where you can see where it's in there. Oh, that would freak me out. I don't like spiders. Snakes do not bother me, but spiders freak me out. But, you know, I'd have to hit this with a ton of fly spray. You know, you can see there that it's in the viewfinder. It actually looks like it's going to be on the outside. So you put your eye up there and it's straight there. Learning to live with his new friend. I'm just reading here. For now, Robinson just is living with his new spider friend and waiting to see if it will find itself a new home soon. He's planning to send the camera in for repair if the spider ends up dying inside. And yes, Robinson is still using the camera in the meantime. I've used the camera a few times over the last week, he says. It's been fairly entertaining. I'd be making sure that I use the back screen and not use the EVF. I just thought that was a classic. It really is a classic if you... Oh, no. It's the A7R3 that he's got. So I suppose it could have got through the battery compartment or something. I mean, where else could it get in? That's the only place I could think that it could get in. And lastly, I wanted to talk to you about this. I have DxO RAW, but they've just released a new version. Cheers, everyone. So they've just released a new version that's come out. It's called Pure RAW 2. And it just says enhanced workflow options and Fuji support if you're a Fuji photographer. It says here that while the 1.0 release of the app was touted as a first step to use with raw file processing before moving on to applications like Capture One or Adobe Lightroom, this new release fully integrates the application into Lightroom. Now, it doesn't go into Capture One, and that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't use the version that I paid for, which is the version 1. So I have got 1. I may upgrade to version 2. It's $79, I think. But it looks like this is your integration, that it has with Lightroom, so it will go directly in. And I believe you can even have it in Lightroom and then use it as a plugin to use this process as well. And it will convert things like to DNG files, etc. But it looks like, I'm just reading down here, it's support for Fuji X-Trans and more. You can sort of see the results down here. This is saying it's with DxO Pure Raw 2, and you can see down here, I'm just trying to see if I can see much difference. Let me just have a look. Just trying to see if you can see any difference there. Oh. Yeah, it's a bit softer. You can see there that it's a bit softer and there's more noise. I don't know whether this is going to come through this because of YouTube compression, but it's much smoother on the top one here. It's also sharper because it does add sharpening as well. It will do things like lens corrections. It does. They're saying that it gives you two stops of better ISO performance. So I'm going to have to test this myself if I get it. I do love the DxO programs for that, and in fact, I do use the DxO as well. I've got the full version of Raw, DxO, whatever it's called, I can't remember, but I use that as well for the noise. It's definitely doing a nice job there. I'm just seeing what it says. It's Deep Prime is what I've used before. Yeah, Deep Prime there. It's a plugin that you get when you get DxO Photo Raw, I think. I think it was a plugin I had to buy that was extra. It just says the company also says it has improved the performance of other features within the app. This includes reporting significant upgrade in speed. So it's meant to have improved in Windows, but it's had a much bigger improvement on the Mac side because it's now running native, I believe. Pure Raw. Just trying to see what it says there. DxO claims this update has improved speeds by up to 4 times when run on an Apple Silicon M1. That's probably because it's native now instead of being running through emulation. Rosetta, that's what it will be going through, and it's 1.5 times faster on Windows PCs. Pure Raw 2 also includes improved support for its high DPI displays, giving developers more control with Windows machines. Number of supported combinations is over 70,000 combinations. What it does when you open it up, if it doesn't know the lens that it uses, it will ask you to download that lens profile. So it's very, very clever how it works. And you can download all the lens profiles and cameras that you're going to use. So it's terrific. So that way it's not going to take up too much room on your computer with all these profiles. It'll just download what it needs. It just says users can also now access high ISO RAW files directly from the main interface of the application once opened in an empty state. Clicking this option will take them to a web page where the archive can be downloaded. I'm just trying to see here too. Is that gonna... It's interesting. It doesn't want to display that pic. Must think they're adverts. It's available for $129 for new users and $79 if you have DxO Pure Raw. So it will cost me $75 if I want to upgrade that. So the way that this will work is you just open it up. You open your images, the way that I would use this, for instance, is you open up the images directly from the card and process them from there. I usually back it up. I usually take the images off the card and put them on a hard drive somewhere. I just like to have that backup there. So I'd take it onto the hard drive, then I'd open it up in Pure Raw. What that will do, it immediately then looks for any noise that's there. It will automatically get rid of that. It will look for any chromatic aberrations, lens distortions and things like that, and it gets rid of that. And even sharpening, it will also add sharpening as well if you wanted to have that in there. So that will be done automatically for you. So you just open them up, let it batch away, and then that's done. Then you would take it into something like Capture One and do your final processing in there. Like I said, if you've got it in Lightroom, it will work with Lightroom directly, so that's much better. I'm hoping one day they'll get this to work with Capture One. I do love the DxO software. Like I said, I absolutely love their noise reduction plugins and also their lens correction as well. It's just brilliant how it works. There's nothing quite like that, and I adore that. So I'm thinking about getting the version 2 just because of those features that are there, run my weddings and everything through that, and then take it into something like capture one after that. But, let me know. Has anyone got that? Are they using it? It looks like the version 2 is going to be much, much better. I found version 1 to be a little bit slow, and that's probably because it's running through Rosetta. They're saying it's much, much faster with this latest version. So that's for that anyway. Let me switch back to me. Okay, so if you like, open up to Q&A. We'll do a little bit of Q&A. Let me just bring that up on the rundown. So we'll have some Q&A. So just fire away some questions and we'll take it from there. Like I said, it wasn't going to be a massive long show today because there's just not that much news at this stage, Oh, beer's so good. Let me quit that so I don't need that on anymore. Let me go back to social. So fire away if you have any questions, guys. Let me see where we were up to. I think we were down there, actually. Where was it? Yeah, daylight savings. I read that one. I was saying, John said, move to the States and have plenty of weddings. I love it. Jess said, I finally got my Sony 35 f1.4 and it is simply the best lens I've ever owned. Yeah, that's a beautiful lens, Jess. The 35 1.4 is gorgeous. There's no doubt about it. It just depends which sort of lens that you would like to go to. Like I said, I used to shoot the 35. Now I love the 24. I think I'd never gone to 24 before because I'd never been happy with anything around that focal range that was, nice and sharp without too much distortion. I was always wary of, say, shooting brides and stuff with a 24mm because, it would distort. But the 24 GM is very, very good with how it is with distortion. Look, you wouldn't want to shoot with them on the edges, but it is great. I just love the 24mm now. It's just all a personal thing. But yeah, the 35 is gorgeous too. Do you have a good gimbal selling, David? I live in Ballarat. Yeah, I certainly have, Juicy. Contact me if you like, and I can take you through some after the show if you want. I can show you what I've got. Just message me through Facebook is probably the easiest thing, or email me or something. If you message me through Facebook, I can bring up FaceTime and I can show you what gimbals I've got. I've got stacks of them. Oh, that blinked then. That's the first time I've noticed that. Has anyone noticed any other blinking that happened? That definitely blinked then. Rick said, I'm in, where's that, Carnisle, is it? Exit 14, Belt PK, going out to Fire Island tomorrow to shoot some snow owls. I think he's talking to someone else, actually. What camera are you streaming from now? The ZV-E10. That's what I'm using now. I haven't used this for a long time, actually. I used to use this always to stream, but I like the ZV-E10 because it's I like the focus, the way that it will immediately snap if I get it in the right place. It'll snap a little bit better. Video quality is just as good between both of them, I think. The focus is a fraction better with the ZV-E10, but this is also brilliant. I'm just going to have to send this into Sony and get them to work out why it won't, turn on. Hopefully it's not too expensive. But yeah, I've used the ZV-E10. Also, I like the way the flip-out screen will work on the ZV-E10. I tend to use this as a second camera when I'm shooting weddings. I'll have another lens on this. Like I might put the Batis 85 on there, which gives me, around 135. And I'll use this as the close-up lens, and then I'll have my 24 as a wide-angle lens. So I often sort of work that way. Jess said, as a primary photographer, and the new Sony 16-35 f4 FPZ is not for me, as I consider it more like a video lens. Yeah, it probably is, Jess, and you're probably right, but I would use it for both. I used to use the 18-105, that was the APS-C lens. I used to use that for both videography and stills. I've put YouTube videos on there. Actually, I think it's nearly 200,000 views. I adored that lens, and it's beautiful for photography. So don't be put off by that zoom. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. John said, does the 16-35 internally? I don't know, John. That's going to be interesting to see if it does. It would be great if it does, because that would mean that it's much easier to put on gimbals and stuff like that. All I do with this, for instance, if I'm using this on a gimbal, when you're balancing it, you just have it halfway out. So what you'll do is you just sort of get the lens and you work out its halfway point, and then you'd balance it at that point. So then it's not going to be too much out of balance depending on where you'll go. So it's not really an issue. I know some people say that, you know, they can suck in lint and dust or whatever. I've never had issues with them. I mean, the Tamron's never had any dust issues, neither has the 70-200 f4. But yeah, I understand that internal zooming is better. What else have we got? Jason said, looks like a great lens. Yeah, it certainly does, Jason. Benjamin said, what was the price? Yeah, it was around £1,300. So I suppose similar dollars. Aldrich said, the A1 is calling me, but I've got my fingers in my ear. Aldrich wants the A1. I don't blame you. That's a great camera, Aldrich. You know what? I'm wondering, though, now whether it's almost to the point where if you don't need one, it might be good to hang out for a while just to see what the A9 III has to offer. Yeah, it's just interesting to see. I'm not sure. Look, the A1 is amazing and magnificent, but we don't know what the A9 III is going to have that will be released sometime this year, and there may also be an A2 or something as well. Juicy said, I love my 24 as well. Don't blame you, it's so good. Rick said, I know he's talking to each other. Let me just play that again because Long Rider did give me that donation, so thanks so much, Long Rider. Altric said he just subscribed to Jason. Yep, Jason's got some great videos. Yeah, that did it again. Interesting. There it goes. Look. Oh, that's weird. I don't know what's causing this. I've even gone down to 1080 today to see if that fixes it, and it's only just starting now. Let me just unplug this for a minute. It's going to go black for a minute. I'm just going to see if it stops doing it. Let me just put that back on. Let's see what happens now. If that keeps going, I'll unplug it and put it in the back and see if that stops it. Yeah, Jason has some great stuff. Altric said, I love primes, but I just use the 70-200 too. Yep. You just got it, did you? Yeah, that's a great lens. They really have done a great job with that 70-200. Nice and light. Beautiful lens. They're talking to each other. Altric said, ordered. Oh, you ordered the 70-200. Jess said, I finally got the Sony 35 1.4 and it is simply the best lens I've ever owned. It is a winner. Love it too, guys. If you could give me a thumbs up too, it does make a big difference to the channel being unsponsored. Altric said, the 135 is so sharp. I know it is. It's just amazingly sharp. It's the sharpest lens I've ever had, probably. Rick said, shooting portraits, don't you get distortion at 24? I shoot groups at 24. However, the main subject is always in the middle to avoid the distortion. That's what you got to think about, Rick. I tend to love it, but I won't put the subject on the edge. I will put them more in the center, and I've found the distortion is really well controlled, so it never looks to me like it's a real problem, because that lens is so controlled. But you definitely wouldn't put them on the edge because it is quite a wide angle lens. I like it so much because I love to show the environment. I've changed a little bit more. I used to shoot a lot closer, whereas now I like to show the environment as well. It just depends on how you'd like to change. I mean, the 35 is what they always say is the perfect lens for what your eye sees. It's about what your eye sees as, so when you're looking at something, your eye is around a 35mm focal length. So that will give you an idea about why you would use that, and that's why they say it's the best street photography lens that's out there, because it's similar to what your eye sees. But I just love something about the 24, but we all love different things. You know, we're all different. So, but you do have to be careful, Rick. Yep, you definitely would not shoot a bride on the edge. That's for sure. SH is saying, love owls. Rocco says, I have the 24 1.4 and the 12 to 24 2.8 GM. I love both. Yeah, that 12 to 24 is a great lens. It's really good. Colin's going to bed. Don't blame me, Colin. It's probably very late over there. Where else? Alien Jones said, Altric, indeed, hard to justify the 135 when the 70 to 200 GM is so good. Just makes the 135 redundant. I don't know about that. There's a look about the 135 that is just special. You can also go to the 1.8 too, which is a big difference between 2.8. Again, yeah, I fully understand if that's the way you feel, but I don't even use my 70 to 200. I like the 135. George said, Tamron 35 to 150 has become my 3 favourite lenses. The 35 to 150 is a brilliant lens. I love that lens, actually. Hasn't come off my A7R 3A since the day I got it and will stay on until something better comes along. I know that is a great lens, George, that's for sure. Mark says the 24 to 105 a lot uses it. The 24 to 105 is a terrific Sony lens. That'll be interesting to see if they bring out a new version of that, though, but that is a great lens. Colin said, apparently I stopped getting notifications. Who knows what's going on with YouTube, Colin? I've got no idea. 24 to 105 is the perpetual workhorse. It's a great videography lens too. The 24 to 105 is a great lens if you want to cover those, those distances. So you've got all between 24 and 105. So it's a great lens if you want to cover that whole range without having to change lenses. John also said the 24 to 105 Canon RF is my most used lens by far. Benjamin says he'll keep the flies out. What's that, the owl? Johnny said, nice to catch you live, David. I saw that you tested Tamron 28 to 75 G2. Would you say it's worth upgrading? Yeah, it's definitely a much better lens, Johnny. Much better. It's like anything with the Virgin 2 lenses. They are so much better. I found that lens was much better. It was sharper. It focused a bit better. It's great. Steve's here as well. G'day, Steve. How you going, buddy? John said, David Oates, the snakes don't bother me either, except in the US, unlike Oz. Most of them can kill you. Yeah, most of ours can kill you. I've nearly been bitten a few times. Chris said, the 16 to 35 millimeter doesn't seem much of a zoom. Oh, before I forget, let me show you this. I just remembered because I wanted to show this to you guys. Let me see if I can bring this up. Let me go back to here. I've got to show you this because you're going to laugh your heads off when you look at this. Let me just clear this. Let me go to Facebook because this is an absolute classic. You are going to love this. Let me go to my page and let me find where it is. Oh, here we go. I love it. Wait till you see this. Can I bring that up? Oh, hang on. I've got to take this off first. Quit. Okay, now let me drag it over. Let me stop this for a minute. All right, wait till you see this. I love it. All right, you ready? Look at this guy. Would you? Now, can I make it bigger? Can I go full screen? Oh, hang on. Is that? Oh, it's there. Oh.
How you going, Rog?
How do I make it full?
Bit wet after a bit of rain, mate.
Popped out.
Hey.
I'll just make the screen bigger.
Let
me go back. All right, you ready? Look at this bloke.
How
Look at him.
Rog?
Look at those muscles.
Wet after a bit of rain, mate.
That's incredible.
Hey.
Oh, my God. Would you like to tackle that? Oh, I can't. Hang on. I've got to switch. What are we on? It's on MacBook 2. All right, and then I'll go auto. All right, you ready? Hang on.
How you going, Rog?
Let me clear this out so we can see it. And
Hey.
let me just rewind it so you can have a look again.
It's all right.
Check out this
Get ready,
guy.
Toshi, don't
Now,
worry.
if you saw something like this,
You going,
you
Rog?
would not want to have a go at it.
Bit wet after a bit of rain, mate.
Muscles. I love it.
Hey.
Look at it. Now that
It's all right.
is
Get ready,
probably
Toshi, don't worry. I'm going.
standing up. It could be potentially up to 6 foot high. But those
Yeah,
muscles on the front of that are
Wet after a bit of rain,
nuts.
mate.
I saw that and I just thought I've got to show you guys. I shared that on Facebook and I thought I've got to show this to you guys because I thought it's a classic. You would not want to tackle that, I'm telling you. It would
You going, Rog?
it would just kill you.
Wet after a
There's,
bit of rain,
there's dogs in Australia. I think they're the biggest killer of dogs because the dogs try and attack them and they use their they stand on the back tail and they'll use their claws. Their feet have a Rick said they have claws on their back feet that will tear the dog's gut open. They're incredibly strong. Look, 99.9% of the time they'll just run off. But if you ever see one that's doing that to you, do not have a go at it because you'll come off second best, that's for sure. I just wanted to show that because I thought that's a classic. Let me just quit that and come back to me.
It's all right. I'm getting out of your territory, don't worry.
I just thought that was an absolute classic. I love it. Let me quit that so it's gone. Yeah, I thought that was so good. So let's keep going down on this. Chris said the 16-35 doesn't seem much of a zoom, like you'd have to be close. Only if you can do APS-C mode would it make more sense. I don't mind the 16-35 though, Chris. I kind of like that focal range when I'm doing video with it because I don't want to get too close to the subject. So I find that 16-35 is really nice. But yeah, I mean, if it's not for you, completely understand. Why F4 16-35? Well, obviously it's cheaper and some people just don't need the 2.8 version. That's why. I like the F4 version. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't think I need an F2.8, but that's just me. Like John said, because much lighter and much less expensive. Yep, exactly. Steve said, what's the best Windows program to read HEIF files? I don't know, Steve. Someone else might be able to help you in the chat because I don't use Windows at all. Benjamin said, I haven't heard any news of the A74 firmware update. Yeah, I've heard nothing yet either. So, yeah, I don't know either. Phil said, arrived. Thanks for the company. We'll watch the rest tonight. And yes, Melbourne has been hit hard. Sydney, not so much. In fact, it's kind of like squeezing 2 years of weddings in a year this year. That's fantastic, mate. I'm so happy for you. Johnny said, you got tons of lenses. Let's bring a few brick walls and Casey squirrels to test everyone in a shootout. A model could work as well. I love it, Johnny. A lot of my brides, excuse me, a lot of my brides are walking down the aisle pregnant now. Oh, that's because they've had to wait so long. Yeah, that's what you're saying, because it's been 2 years waiting for COVID and life goes on and no one walked down with a three-week-old. That's really interesting. So they've got pregnant in the meantime. Wow. Terry said, hi, David. Have you got beer? I have. Cheers. It's James Squire that I'm drinking. Love it. What else have we got? Just bought the new Sony A7 IV and I'm loving it with my Tamron 35-150. It's such a gregreat camera. The A7 IV is fantastic. And the Tamron 35-150 is a great lens as well. Matthew said, David, the stream quality looks awesome. Is the camera set to 4K? Yes. Matthew, you have to run the camera at 4K. If you don't run it at 4K, the ZVE10, any of the APS-C cameras is very, very soft. So the trick is to run it at 4K. I'm running 4K 50 because I'm on PAL. So I run at 4K 50 and then the interface that I'm going into, the ATM, all goes down to just 1080p 50. So that's the way it will work, and it's very, very sharp. If I ran this at 1080, it would be soft as. So, yeah, never run these cameras at 1080p. They're not good at all. So you're better off to run them in 4K and then let the software you're using sort of downsample it. I tend to always shoot 4K. I'll never shoot in 1080p. It also gives you the ability to crop in, but you get much nicer footage running in 4K and then say downsampling it in your editor later on. But yeah, that's the secret to having an image look really nice. Melissa, g'day Melissa, how you going? Hope you're having a great day. Just wondering, in your shoots, do you do many composite HDR images? Are you able to get most images in one exposure? Yeah, I don't do much HDR. Well, really, I don't do it, Melissa. Look, the dynamic range is so good on these cameras now. If it's really critically important, I'll underexpose, and then all you have to do is protect the highlights. As long as you protect the highlights, you've got a lot of latitude to move backwards and forwards. If you're shooting real estate, you would have to do HDR because, look, you've got that extreme exposure with outside windows as against, say, shooting the indoor interiors. So if you shoot that type of work, you would probably have to use multiple exposures to get that look. I did do some real estate shots recently, and I did do that because they wanted the beautiful outlook on the outside as well as on the inside, very, very well lit. But that's the only time that I would tend to do HDR type footage. And I tend to just use 3 exposures, and I'll use one for the shadow and one for the highlight and then one for the sort of the mid-tones, and then blend them in together like that. But I never do that for portrait work or anything like that. I'll only ever do that if I'm doing real estate photography. But I found the dynamic range in the newer cameras is so good that, it's almost can be not pitch black, but you can be really incredibly underexposed and you can still pull it back. The highlights are another issue. You can't go much, probably, look, 1.5 stops. You can sort of tend to pull back in the highlights, but I wouldn't go as much with the highlights as you can with the shadow. So I tend to, with the exposure, I tend to just go a fraction over, and that way I know I've still got the highlights to come down, and I've got plenty of sort of latitude in the shadows that I can pull them up. And like I said, with noise nowadays, with the things that you've got, the Topaz and also the DxO software and stuff, noise is not an issue. I tend to generally expose exactly right for the scene, and that way your ISO is less, and also you've got still a hell of a lot of dynamic range in your images that you can go with the shadows and highlights. So I tend to go that way. John said, holy blinky. Yeah, look, it's interesting because it has stopped, I think, since I've taken that lens out. Let me just go full screen on this. We'll see if it does it again. It might be that lead. Possible thermal problem. I wouldn't think so, Heath, because it's running quite cool in here. I mean, the fans aren't even on my MacBook. I mean, I am coming through a YOLO box, so maybe that's heating up. I'm not sure. Chris said, I wish they came out with the A7C. They will, Chris. It's only a matter of time before they update that camera. And it definitely needs it. Look, it's a good camera, but, they definitely need to improve the EVF and other things about that camera. 4K 60 would be fantastic too, but it's only a matter of time before that comes out. Altric said, that's what I'm doing, just going to wait for the A9 III. Yeah, like I said, the A1 now is still the best camera that Sony have got that's available, but you might find by the time the A9 III comes out, whether Sony will give us the video aspect of that, if you're not worried about that, Sony may still cripple it like they've done with the A9 series and not put picture profiles in. I hope they don't do that, but they may. Or they may just keep it that the 8K is strictly for the A1. You might get picture profiles in an A9 III, but they just won't give you the 8K footage. I'd be happy with that. I mean, I don't really need to shoot in 8K, and I won't need to for a long time. So as long as it has 4K 60 for me, I would be happy. But yeah, I think at this stage, if you're not in a hurry and you don't need it right now, I would probably wait for the A9 III because that probably is going to be an amazing camera. Altric also said, hope to post an image from the shoot the other day with the 135. Cool, yeah, put it in the photography videography skill. Also, by the way, thanks guys, that we've just reached 9,000 subscribers in the photography videography skill Facebook page. So if you haven't joined us there, the link will always be down below. Please join us. It's a great site and we're up to 9,000, so thanks so much for that. The 70 to 200 can't bet the images of the 135 or beat them. I've got the 70 to 200 for sports and wedding work. The 135 is my go-to lens. Yeah, there's just something about that lens, Altric. I agree. Ted said, hi, David. Missed you lately, but delighted you're back in the wedding business. Thanks so much, Ted, and thanks for coming back. I know you meant beat, Altric. Rick said, I understand they can catch and kill dogs. Yep, that's the the kangaroos that I was showing you. I'm thinking about adding the Sony 90 macro, but have a feeling Sony will update it soon. That is a great lens, Altric. But yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty old lens now. It's very slow focusing. Although that doesn't really matter with a macro anyway, because you usually manual focus anyway with a macro, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd buy that one now. I don't know. That kangaroo is almost as jacked as me. I love it. I know. Bill said that roo will bust you up. Rocco said, I have the Sony 90 macro and it's a great lens. It's incredibly sharp, actually. It's still one of the sharpest Sony lenses available. John said there is a video of a kangaroo choking a dog and a man gets the dog free. Then the guy does an uppercut. Yeah, that was only a small kangaroo. And to be honest, John, he was lucky that that kangaroo backed off, because if it didn't, he may have got killed. You've got to be very careful. Look, very, very rarely does anyone get injured from kangaroos. They're not a dangerous animal and they will not attack you 99.9% of the time. But what happens is stupid people will go up to them and threaten them. And you know, if the big buck or whatever you want to call it, the leader or the main kangaroo of that its group is usually very, very big, and they will protect the others that are there. So if they stand up like that, back off. But you know, like I said, you very rarely ever hear of anyone being killed by them, but it does happen. But a lot of dogs do get killed, yes, by them. But they're a gentle animal. They're lovely as long as you're not stupid and, you know, do things you shouldn't be doing. Rick said you'll get the best pictures with the 90 macro, but that lens focus breeds. It's not a quick focusing lens. Yeah, so you're saying breathes, obviously, on that. Let me keep coming down. Terry said all good now, no blinks. Yeah, I don't know why. It might be that cable. How good is the 55 1.8? I love it, Brent. I did get it fixed recently because I dropped it, and the whole front came off, but I did get it fixed because I love it that much. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I adore that lens. Let me just show you. I'll show you how good that lens is. Let me just open up this. I won't play this for long, but I'll just show you. Now, is that in there? Because this was completely shot. Let me have I got it. Yeah, this one. So this video was completely shot with the 55mm. And it was the A7 III and the 55. It was all on auto. Autofocus, I'm trying to say it was gone. And also, there was no picture profile used here at all. Everyone asks me all the time whether this had picture profiles in it. Let me just switch over and then I'll play it and you can see what I mean. But the quality of the 55 is beautiful, but have a look. Let me go to, it is MacBook 2. If I go auto. Let me just clear this for a second. Where were we? Let me play it. Go off.
Give me your strength and show me your weakness. We're in this together now. We're in this together now. Give me your love and tell me your secrets. 'Cause we're in this together now. Yeah, we're in this together now. No, 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 no.
So these were the still shots from it as well.
I'll keep you safe, I'll give you my everything.
Let me quit out of that.
Even if we're falling down.
Let me come back to me. So you can see with that that lens is beautiful. I love the rendering of it. It's gorgeous. And plus it's so good to use on a gimbal because it's so light. You know, I mean, it's tiny. It's that small. You can see I leave the filter on this because I generally use this for that. But it's stunning for photos as well. Like I said, there is... what's that just saying? Wow, that's lovely. Is the lens heavy? No, it's so light. It is that light. It's tiny. I mean, look at the size of it. It is so small. That's why I love it so much. It is really good, and it's one of my favourite lenses. I just don't use it so much because I've been grabbing the 135 and all that sort of stuff. But I should, you know what, I should go and get this and put it on the gimbal again and do some shots of it when the model shoots start up again, because I adore the look of this lens and it's beautiful. It's easy to use. It's so light, and the rendering and focus and everything is just spot on. You know, for an older lens, I can't recommend it enough. It really is a beautiful lens. Where were we? So yeah, Brent, that is it's such a good lens. I like I said, I really love it. Melissa said, yeah, been playing with real estate photography, which I've realised they seem to do a bit. Yeah, they always do the photo stacking, Melissa, because you've got to get the outside and the inside balanced, and that's why they do it. Altry said he doesn't care about video, so that's fine. John said, seriously, anyone who messes with an adult red or grey kangaroo deserves what they get. On American, know that much. Yeah, that's right. They're nuts, particularly the red kangaroo. The red kangaroos are the really big ones. They can get up to about 7 foot tall, I think, or 6 foot tall, I think. In America, dummies, you will feed bears in Yellowstone, and they get eaten. I know how stupid. I've seen that before. Like, it's just asking for trouble. My bears probably are the same. If you don't bother them, they won't bother you. Chris said, 55 1.8 is by far the most beautiful, dependable lens. Yeah, and that's why I got mine fixed, because I loved it so much. Wow, that's lovely. Is the lens heavy? I'm thinking of getting one for my Rowan 4D. No, it's so light. It really is a light lens and great focusing as well. Some idiot woman tried to get close to a bison. Is it bison or bison? I'm not sure. In Yellowstone a couple of years ago, and it threw her around like a rag doll. It's amazing she lived. Some people are just disrespectful idiots. I know, they're stupid. Recently upgraded to 2 Sony A1s. Wow. Absolutely loving them. Just hoping Sony announce an 85 1.2 GM soon. They will, I think, Alex. I think that's only a matter of time before that's announced. Will pair great with the 35 GM. Wow, that's going to be beautiful. And with that camera, the A1, oh, I'm so jealous. Altric said, would love a video on how to shoot video on the Sony system. Yeah, I must get around to doing that one day, Altric. It's certainly something that I'll get around to. And that's about it, guys. We've reached the end of the show. Please give us a like if you can. I would really appreciate that. Apart from that, well, we've gone over an hour, so it's surprising. I didn't think we'd go this long. Thanks so much for tuning in again. I will be back next week now, so I'll try and get now back onto the weekly episodes now. I also want to try and do one midweek too for the Europeans, because that's a totally different time zone, so I'd like to get back for that as well. But thanks so much for joining me. I absolutely love you guys. It's such a pleasure to have a chat with you. It's like a bunch of mates sitting all around a table chatting, and that's what I love so much. I'll leave the links down below so you can go and look at those pages if you want to have a look at those pages. Please join the Photography Videography School. That will also be in the link below as well. It's there now, actually. Like I said, there's 9,000 people in that group now, so please join that. Apart from that, I'll see you in the next video. Let me just switch over, and I'll catch you in the next video, guys. Going to have some lunch. Bye, everyone.
If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over, we can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide. On a wave of good feelings. Well, it's just another Friday.